Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. Joining us today is Nicole Rakobitsch, Director of Sustainability for Organic Valley. Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for joining us here today.
Hi there, Sarah. Pleasure to be with you.
For those of you that are joining us here online, we thank you for taking the time to tune in. If you have any questions, feel free to post those there in the chat area on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're joining us from social media, simply post your questions directly in those channels. So Nicole, let's start by having you tell us about Organic Valley and the role that you play there within the company.
Sure. Yes. So I am the Director of Sustainability at Organic Valley. And for those of you who don't know us, we are the largest organic cooperative in the US. We were founded in 1988. And today we have over 1,600 farms in 34 states that are part of our membership.
Now you are down in Phoenix, and we're talking to you from Phoenix from the Dairy Forum 2024. And you're talked on a topic this morning called insetting is the new offsetting. And we're talking carbon when we talk about that. So what exactly does that mean, and why should the dairy industry care?
So carbon insetting is making improvements in your supply chain. So it could be thought of sort of the opposite of carbon offset. So instead of purchasing carbon reductions or removals that happen outside your supply chain, you're doing the work inside your value chain to reduce those emissions, and then doing the carbon accounting to take the appropriate credit for those practices. And so the panel I was on today was just sort of explaining that theory and then some different practical projects that are happening today.
So it's really insetting then is focusing on doing more good within that whole value chain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe you also made an announcement here this week related to Organic Valley's carbon insetting program. Is that correct? And what was that all about?
Yes. So we've been building our own internal carbon insetting program over the past couple of years. We've been working very hard to build the foundation, the science, the framework, doing all the pieces in order to enroll farmers. And so our announcement today was that we have enrolled our first batch of farmers. And what enrolled means to us and our program is that these farmers have signed agreements with Organic Valley saying that they're going to, or they have installed the practices. And then we're going to start making carbon payments to those farmers as they implement the practices and keep them installed over the long term.
So when you say practices and implementing these practices, give us some general concept of what you're talking about there.
Yes. So it's the practices are climate smart farming practices. So practices that have a known ability to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or sequester carbon at the farm level. And so there's, a whole list of practices that check those boxes. But for us, what we're focusing on is solar energy, improved manure management, planting trees, and then also supplements that reduce enteric emissions in the cow.
So do you have a goal? Does Organic Valley then have a goal of carbon neutrality, or what's kind of your benchmarks have you set within Organic Valley?
We do have a goal to be carbon neutral by the year 2050. So I think a lot of the dairy industry has aligned behind this goal. We've done a lot of work in our facilities to help get us there, and our farms, they're all certified organic. So they've also done a lot of work, but this sort of takes us to the next level to get us towards that goal. And we have an interim target coming up pretty soon here in the year 2030. We're looking for a 15% reduction from our 2019 baseline.
Does Organic Valley, how does it compare to the average U.S. dairy operation out there from a kind of overall greenhouse gas emissions or just whatever environmental measurements that you folks look at? Do you have that kind of comparison?
We have done a body of work called an LCA, or life cycle assessment, and it is at the farm level. So it really documents the carbon footprint of a farm from soil to farm gate. And the output of an LCA gives you a milk emission factor. So how many emissions are produced at the farm level per unit of milk. And so through that LCA, we're able to compare ourselves to other LCAs in the dairy industry. And through that, we've seen that our on-farm emissions are about 24% lower than the benchmark LCA for the dairy industry in the US. And that is, just to clarify, that's our baseline of where we're starting from.
Okay, because this program's new. Are you the only group, only cooperative, only company, whatever, that would be out there in the dairy industry that's doing an insetting kind of approach to the carbon issue?
We are some of the first. I don't know that we're the only ones at this moment in time, because there were some other folks on the panel. So there was another organization called Athean on the panel that I presented with. And they have a carbon insetting program sort of as a service. So the program we've built is an internal program that we are managing with Organic Valley staff. And so that would be an alternative to our program, really.
So do you folks at Organic Valley go out and actually meet with dairy producers and talk to them about this program and do the measurements of, kind of where they are in their progress towards reducing their emissions?
Yes, exactly. Yep. So being in a cooperative, we have direct traceability to our milk supply, right? Our farmers are the owners of the cooperative. So we have a close relationship with our farmer members. And really, it all starts with helping the farmers do practice planning and design to figure out the specifics of that climate smart farming practice for their individual farm. And so either that's done by Organic Valley staff, or we do have a network of what we're calling technical service providers. We have a series of partners who are more local out in the field to help with that practice planning and design phase.
So in a general scope, would each farm be very unique and very different, or is there somewhat of a pattern that would apply to your various members in terms of applying this program?
There's absolutely a pattern in the sense that each practice does need to align to the protocol that we've defined for our program. And that is set up in such a way that as the farmers install the practices and we start collecting data, that will be able to generate third-party verified and validated carbon claims. And so it all fits in sort of that framework, with the ultimate goal of ending with these verified and validated carbon claims.
Where are producers and your members in terms of, kind of accepting and saying, yeah, I want to be part of this? Is there still some kind of upselling you need to do? Or are they like ready to be involved in, say, an insetting program?
Farmers are excited to do new projects and practices, but they, at the end of the day, they're business people, right? And so they need to look at the whole picture. They need to look at the financial aspects of it in order to make, that educated decision to move forward. But they absolutely are, and always have been, interested in making farm improvements where it makes sense.
So to go about, let's say I'm one of your members and I'm interested. I just contact you, and then from there we start working on a plan to move forward and to take a look at my operation and see what needs to be done. Is that kind of how it works in terms of signing up for something like this?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly how it works. That would be the first step, that practice planning and design. Once the plan is done, the farmer reviews it. If it's, something they want to move forward with and, the financials look good, then they sign an agreement with us. Just lays out the terms of installing the practice and of us generating those verified outcomes, like I mentioned, and the payments associated with it all. And then we get into sort of this cadence of collecting the data associated with the farm project on an annual basis.
So what is from a comparison standpoint, from insetting to your offsetting of carbon, is there a huge advantage to insetting versus offsetting from a economic advantage or from a producer perspective?
From the producer perspective, I would say the advantage is the good work that they're doing, and the carbon stays with their farm and in their supply chain, rather than if they were to sign up with a carbon offset market, it would leave that carbon claim would leave their farm, would leave the supply chain, and the dairy industry would not, see that benefit or be able to count that benefit.
Very good. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with here today?
Just that excited to keep working with our farmers to help them improve their farms.
Very good. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us today and for sharing your insight and giving us an update on what's going on in Organic Valley from a carbon standpoint. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, we want to thank all of you for tuning in today and spending some time with us. A reminder that all Feedstuffs 365 segments are available at feedstuffs.com. Simply go to Feedstuffs 365 in the nav bar and click there. We look forward to seeing many of you next week at the Atlanta for the IPPE show, and then later in the week in Orlando for the Cattle Industry and CBA trade show. Until next time, for Feedstuffs 365, I'm Sarah Muirhead.